All right, here we go. So, what's that?
My computer's still starting.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll be talking for a little bit, and we're just doing some program blocks first. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to start off with the program blocks. So, um, the the direction that we're heading with this assignment is to actually start three-dimensionalizing this. And really, you can do it in any manner, and I'm going to give you kind of like a suggested way of starting. And really, it has to do with setting floor plates around your actual program. So the first thing I'm going to do is select which one I want to start with. And I'm going to start with this one right here. Just because I think it's going to be a more interesting outcome because I have these very clear circulation pathways going through the space. I can use that to my advantage to really accentuate the verticality of all the connections to different pieces and everything. So so that's what I'm going with. Now, be aware that you probably should keep a copy of the original line work. Whatever diagram format you have of this, you should keep a copy of it. So make sure you copy this to a new location. I'll put mine up here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is just set up the program blocks, and this is where we need to think about actually setting this thing into different planes, right? So I mentioned that we need to have 3 large public spaces, 4 to 6 smaller public spaces, and then we had 3 different program types. And for reasons of just trying to be expedient with this, I'm just going to pick like a basic. I'm just going to kind of rough it out. I'm not going to get too particular about it. So I'll make them magenta so they really, really stick out. So let's do a box. The public spaces, I think, were supposed to be 1,000 square feet. And since they are kind of public gathering spaces, I'm going to make them roughly square. So in fact, I'll probably just make them exactly square. And they'll wind up being something that's not square. So let's do, box. We'll say at 100 feet by 100 feet. That's what I said, right? 800 to 1,000 square feet, something like that. Holy moly. Is my scale off? $800 to 1,000 square feet. My scale's way off. Hold on, what do we have here? This is 100 by 60. So that's 6,000. So 100 by 100, that's 10,000. Sorry. Yeah. Why am I totally blanking here? So we want to do, 10 by 10. No. God, I don't know my square roots. One sec. All right, yeah, so we're going to go with 33. I need to go back to math class. 33, 33 feet. And, it's kind of up to you to decide how big or tall these spaces need to be in the Z direction. It might be helpful to have some variation between them, but I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary. You can start with kind of like a blanket height of maybe 20 feet for now, and then you can just stretch them later. So I'll need 3 of those. And then I'm going to need some smaller ones, and those were 400 to 600, is that right? So 200 to 400. Okay, so let's do we can make them 20 by 20, and then we'll just use that as a large thing. So let's do 20 feet by 20 feet. And because these are kind of smaller gathering spaces, I'm going to block this one out to be, I'll just call it 15 feet high. And I know for a fact that mine only has 5, but you might want to go through, depending on your design process, you might want to go through and make 6. Like that. I'll leave that other one to the side. And then we had a couple of other program blocks. One was I don't want to pull, does anybody have the assignment with them?
700 feet square feet for the cafe.
Okay, So that would be 35 by 35, right? Or no, less than that. Let's see.
How tall was the first box?
We're going to do
33? 33?
26, yeah. Okay.
Oh, 26.
26 feet. This one probably doesn't need to be square though. So let's make it like 20 by 30. Should be fine. Whoops, I need to do an @ symbol. Don't forget your @ symbol. And I'll make this one 15 feet tall as well. And what were the other sizes we had?
500 and 900.
500 and 900. So this one was 20 by 30, so I can take this face and just move it 10 feet up. That's the 500 one. And 900 you said, right? Make this minus 20 feet. Actually, no. I'll just go minus 10 feet and then go the other side 5 feet, I guess. Did I do that right? Minus 10 feet. And then go this way, 5 feet. And you can always just go through and, Control-Shift click one of your surfaces, type in area to test it. So that actually came out a little large. So I'll pull this one up 5 feet. Control-Shift click, grab the surface, type in area. Gives you a more accurate thing. So if you don't want to do like the exact math, you can stretch and push and pull and do it that way. Okay, so I've got all my program blocks. The first thing that I need to do is just start to compile this. And some of these spaces are going to get smaller, some of them are going to get taller. But really the first step that I have here is I'm going to start with my big gathering spaces. Most importantly, this top right corner one, that's definitely just going to be an anchor for me. So I'm going to grab that piece and just put it right there. But in fact, I'm going to move it down so that it exists roughly in the middle of the elevation of the space. And I might actually kind of, squeeze it and make it a little bit smaller. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see. So just so you're kind of aware, the objective is we're going to start blocking out the in some form or fashion plan of our space, and then we're going to start to apply surfaces to it that are going to give us our levels. So let's just keep moving. The next one I have here is the second main area, so I'll move that and I can just go from midpoint to midpoint, use my polar track to grab the top of it, and I can put this one right here. And don't worry about your volumes actually clashing with one another. So when you put display on, you're going to notice that some of them are going to do that. That's totally okay. The program is not exact. Remember that these areas, they're sort of outdoor, they bleed into one another. Really, it's just a basis upon which getting the general idea of the volume of your space. So I'll go back to wire. And really, I'm just going to keep doing this until I have them all in there. But I'm not going to exhaustively do it through the video. So I'm going to pause the video for you guys right now, do this with you, and then kind of recap it at the end. Okay, so I want to close the book on the program part. So again, just think high level conceptually. You don't need to be in tow with me right now. What I want you to understand is the objective that we have here. So I'm going to kind of give you the next step so that you can understand where we're going, and then in a little bit we'll actually do it. But ultimately what's going to happen is the bottom plates of each one of these boxes is what's really critical, and then we're going to start re-elevating some of the geometry that we have to match up with what that is. Okay, so this is going to look a little crazy. I'm going to do it really fast, and then I'm going to go back later on and we'll do it slower. But each one of these blocks will actually, you can just do it this way. There you go. Select objects, explode, and then I'm actually going to get rid of the top couple layers of each one so that all that's left is the bottom plate. There are other ways to do that too. You could just kind of pull it out, delete all the boxes, but this way is kind of intuitive, I think. It's a little slightly laborious, not a big deal though.
Why wouldn't you just create one plane?
That's a very good question. Why wouldn't I create one plane? Because I needed to be able to perceive the relative heights of the spaces first, and then it helps me align, without being too over encumbering of like, one program that kind of bleeds over top of the other, but really it's only like 4 feet tall below. You know what I mean? It's just a visualization thing. All right, so these are my program elevations, okay? If you think of it this way, basically a lot of your design is kind of already done. The simplest thing that I'm going to do here outside of that is, let me go back to default, turn these off. Really what happens at this point is you take your outer edge, and this is the next step, okay? I just want you to see why we're doing this so you're excited about doing it. But you create a surface, Then you split that surface, you select that and all of your curves, and really it's going to sort of break everything up. And then what you wind up with is a bunch of surfaces now that are all broken, and your program planes, and then you start to pick which ones are supposed to be where. So if this, let's find a good example here, right? So this is one of my semicircular conditions, and if this is supposed to be elevated, I can actually elevate the whole system. I think that one went up 4 feet, or maybe it was 5 feet, right? So I can elevate that whole system. I can remove certain bits and pieces of it to create ramps. I can rotate elements down if I need to. Right? You can create three-dimensional relationships from some of your pieces so that it actually translates throughout the space. And we're going to use this to kind of move through our design in stages to get to different levels of development. Does that make any sense? So just getting real quick back to my concept here for a moment. This piece was incredibly important, so I'm going to put that back on layer 5. And just show you how I'm going to begin conceptualizing it. So I'm going to extrude surface, solid no, both sides. Change object layer.
Is there gonna be like a walkway, a freeway, and
Sort of, kind of. We'll figure that out in a little bit. But anyway, this particular component here is very important. So I decided to kind of extrude that so that as I'm doing that planar stuff, you can see it a little better. So you can also change, if you're interested in doing it this way, you can change it into a ghosted view so that you can kind of see inside of it and stuff like that. Okay, so the step that we're at right now is we're going to focus on developing the program blocks, getting them to kind of relate to one another without intersecting too much, right? And the level that mine was at was a pretty good level. And then break it down so that you get your floor plates before we move on to the next stage, okay? So I'm hoping, again, I'm releasing you again now at 7:25 to do this, so I'm hoping we can get that done in about 40 minutes. You guys think you can get through that?
yeah.
If not, don't worry about it. We are able to proceed without having it completely done. So, any general questions?
What kind of development does our concept picture have to be at in order to?
You should have that part. You should probably have ready to go. Yeah. If you want to take a simple one and just pull it off to the side as a side study, that's okay too.